Hi, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a good week last week. Hope you have a good week this week. Hope everybody keeps praying. I got some things God's really put on my heart lately, and I've been studying a lot about Peter, and I just kind of correlate Peter with who he was, as I think he has a lot of same traits that our society has today, and by that I mean that a lot of us we're quick responsive. We're quick to make a response, or to go ahead and do something. We fly by the seat of our pants a little bit, mainly because our society's so fast paced and things are going so fast in our world that a lot of times we tend to make quick decisions, and Peter was that same way. And that's kind of where I want to share with y'all. I kind of want to give a background about Peter first. Is, we see all through John, mainly the book of John, it's super good about seeing who Peter was as a person. If you read between the lines, you can kind of tell what kind of guy he was. He wanted it all, and he wanted it right then, and he was all or nothing kind of guy, and he was confused a lot. And I think a lot of us are that way too. We want to be all or nothing, and sometimes we feel like we're all, and sometimes we feel like nothing. It's because we're confused, and he was the same way. He was just like most of us today. Most of us Christians today, we have times like that where we feel that way. I think, at least I do, and what Peter did, we see it by example. I guess I'll show you is, whenever they was eating the Last Supper and Jesus was telling them, that one of you would betray me, he's quick to have John, which was the disciple that Jesus loved. John and Jesus were really, really close friends. So Peter instantly asked John, hey man, ask Jesus who this is, because he wants to know. He's got to know everything. He's the spokesman for the disciples, he's the first one. When Jesus was washing their feet, Jesus comes to him and he's washing all their feet, and Peter tells him, no, you will never ever wash my feet. And he's quick, he's kind of hot-headed, maybe, I guess you could say, but I think he's just a modern man. I think he has the same mentality as modern man does, and I think he said that, and he didn't understand what it meant. And I think a lot of times that happens to us too. He said that, and then when he realized what Jesus was talking about, he said, I want you to wash all of me. I want everything. I want you to wash me clean. And we see Jesus whenever they're talking, still just shortly after that, Jesus tells him, before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times after I go away. And he doesn't understand that. He just can't fathom the idea that he would do that, which most of us can't either. But at the end of the day, sometimes we do things and we don't understand why we do them. And I read the end of that, and what happens is he does do what Jesus said. He does deny him 3 times, and he's hot-headed. He's quick to do things. Whenever they came after Jesus and to get Jesus that night and take him off, Peter's the one that jumped up and lopped his ear off, lopped the guard's ear off. And Jesus, it tells us in Luke that he put I believe it's Luke, he tells him that he puts the ear back on and heals this guy's ear, and he calls him Simon Peter, which is usually a good sign when Jesus is talking to Peter, and he doesn't call him Peter, which means rock. He calls him Simon Peter. Usually he's reprimanding him for something, so he calls him Simon Peter when he's talking to him then, and he kind of tries to guide Peter all the way. And that's what Jesus does with us. He tries to guide us the whole way too. But a lot of times we get so caught up in the way the world's working and the way the world operates that we tend to lose sight of the main thing, and we try to incorporate the world into our faith, and the faith into the world, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And in the long run, after Jesus was crucified, Peter felt ashamed. He denied Christ 3 times before the rooster crowed that night, before when Jesus was taken. And man, I'm sure Peter felt like just felt terrible about these things. You can imagine. And what happened was, after Jesus was crucified, Jesus is resurrected, and Peter kind of goes back to fishing. He's still confused. He's still on the fence about a lot of things, but God was always there with him. Jesus was always with him, just like he is with us. So Peter and and it doesn't say all the disciples, but a lot of them, they're out fishing, and Jesus is out on the bank, and they're out in the boat, and Jesus says, how's it going out there, fellas? Y'all catch any fish? And no, we're not. We'll cast your nets on the other side. Peter sees it's Jesus. He throws his tunic on and he jumps. When they're on their way in, after they catch the fish, the other disciples, they're going to paddle back in with their boats. They're going to come ashore just like a normal fisherman, not Peter. Peter's got to have all of Jesus right then, and he dives into the water and swims to the bank so he can be there. He can be the first one to touch Jesus and to talk to Jesus, and that's how we need to be. We need to live, we need to learn from Peter's examples, and I think, like I said, I think he correlates to a lot of modern man, a lot of our modern society. You know, we're that way. And if we can hold on and use his background as what we're doing, then we're going to be good. You know, we need to be like Peter when he's jumping out of the boat. We need to go after Jesus with all we can. And that leads me to our verse. I know this is kind of lengthy, but it leads me to our verse, which is in Romans, which was written by Paul. And it's Romans 12:2. It says, "Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." And that's what Peter allowed. Peter allowed Jesus to change his way of thinking. You know, Peter was just like us. He had a normal job. He had decisions he had to make about all kinds of things, you know. And Peter was just like us. He's a normal dude. And he focused on God and didn't let the world conform him. And whenever he saw, you know, he stayed in his prayer, even though he didn't understand what was going on or where he was supposed to go in life, and Jesus was there. He never gave up. And whenever Jesus was there for him, he dove both feet into what Jesus was telling him. We can't let the world conform us. We can't put society into faith and faith into society. Not always. We can be a Christian in society. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we can't pick and choose things. We can't conform to what socially is acceptable and not to our faith, you know. We can't hold on to material items. We got to be like Peter. We got to know that we can't conform to this world. We got to keep Jesus our focus, and whenever we see Jesus, we got to dive out of the boat and we got to swim to him, and we got to be there first. We got to get our hands on Jesus, and we got to stay in our prayer, and we got to love him. I hope everybody has a good week. I know this was a little lengthy. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a good week. Next week, keep praying for each other, pray for our troops, pray for our country. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.